What's good must always turn bad. Eventually, right? Boston snapped a 6-game win streak. They won their last 10 out of 11 games, then unfortunately got smoked by the extremely good Detroit Pistons, who are now tied for 5th in the NBA Eastern Conference. We won 3 games out of 4 against Detroit in the 2024-25 NBA season, but Boston looked bad, especially without Jaylen Brown. We're going to break down his injury status on today's show in the back half. We're going to break down what really happened in that loss. But really, we're focused on moving forward. The Cleveland Cavaliers, we play them on Friday. If you guys want us to go live for that ball game, go on ahead, hit that sub button for me. If you guys want more live shows for Boston Celtics games, we were live for the Pistons loss. We're hopefully going to be live for the Cavaliers if you guys hit that sub button. Unfortunately, Boston has had a flurry of injuries throughout the month of February. Kristaps Porzingis has been dealing with an illness. Drew Holiday with that right shoulder. They did have a lengthy break because of All-Star Weekend, but Sam Hauser, he can't even sit on the bench without having his back brace wrapped around him. Our team looks like they're starting to fall apart, which scares me a little bit because we are now in the home stretch. 25 games left to go in the NBA regular season, and then it's the playoffs. But watching Jaylen Brown get hurt against the Toronto Raptors, suffering a pretty nasty bone bruise, and then not playing against a really good Detroit Pistons team, it made me realize that Boston really needs Jaylen Brown. They need his scoring. They need his defense. Maybe not as much as a Jayson Tatum, but things just don't look the same when Brown's not playing. So the latest on his injury is that he sat out for some of the second half against the Toronto Raptors on Tuesday after he kind of went bone to bone with a Raptors player, and you could see him start to limp off, and you're like, ooh, that didn't look good. So he was ruled out for the game against the Pistons as he's been dealing with a significant bone bruise, and now I'm starting to wonder, how long is this going to last, and could this affect us playing against the Cleveland Cavaliers? Boston has not had an easy week by any means. The Knicks on Sunday, the Raptors, who always give us a tough time, then the Pistons, which you lost to. Now you have the Cavaliers. Then you have Denver Nuggets on Sunday. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, thankfully, are not players that are injured frequently. But when they are injured, you really start to notice the gap for the Boston Celtics on both sides of the basketball and how much they rely on their superstars than the Jays. The Celtics are okay, though. Jaylen Brown will be okay. Boston is still playing some of their best basketball. Back-to-backs are tough, and Boston now does move on to be 5-4 in back-to-backs throughout this season. Last year they were 12-1, so they were pretty nasty, but obviously last year was just a complete anomaly. Boston is playing some of their best basketball. We're seeing Derrick White showcase skills that I have not seen in a long time. Payton Pritchard proving that he should be the sixth man of the year. So even if there is a flurry of injuries, we've gotten to see some Jordan Walsh minutes, some Neemias Queta, even some Baylor Shireman minutes early in the ballgame. So if Brown can't play against the Cavaliers, it will be tough. But overall, Boston looks very, very good. That game against Detroit, not so much. We're going to break down the Celtics' loss to the Detroit Pistons, who are not an easy team at all. Before I break that down, let me go ahead and break this down. PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I'm playing it. Producer Lopez is playing it, and over 10 million active users are playing it across America. You guys can play in over 30 different states, including Cali, Georgia, Florida, and Texas. It's the super easy to play. All you guys have to do is just pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. That's right, up to 1,000 times your cash. You can take advantage of promotions every Tuesday, Taco Tuesday, a 25% discount on a player's projected stats. Then every Friday is Flex Friday. Win or your money back, guaranteed up to $20. If you want to go ahead and get started, download the PrizePicks app, create an account, and use promo code CLNS. This will give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the PrizePicks app. Use promo code CLNS. That'll give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Oof. A 20-point loss for Boston to snap a 6-game win streak. and they looked tired. I mean, they couldn't shoot a three to save their lives to start the first quarter. Kristaps Porzingis came back way too early. He was obviously dealing with a little bit of injury here, but no shade to the Detroit Pistons. They're a phenomenal basketball team. They're a good basketball team. They're obviously tied right now for 5th in the Eastern Conference, so it could be a little bit tough to shake this one off, but you're going to have to do it pretty quickly because you do have the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday. So I do think that overall, when you have the Detroit Pistons who are completely hot, they cannot stop draining the three-point ball and making everything on all 3 levels. It's going to be really tough to take them down. Jayson Tatum obviously had a fantastic game, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, but I'm actually going to retract that fantastic game. If you want to know what this doesn't show, his turnovers. Absolutely sloppy in the first half. Horrendous in the first half. Boston ended up with 16 turnovers, and you just can't win basketball games with that. Tatum obviously, though, struggling, coming off that back-to-back and having to carry the team, and he tried to get that Tatum type of mindset in the late third quarter just to take over. I mean, he was going body for body with these guys, but ultimately they couldn't play defense on the other end. They couldn't stop the Pistons from scoring, especially when you look at a guy like Malik Beasley, who was shooting lights out like I have never seen before, but maybe that's why he's in second place right now in Vegas odds for 6th man of the year. Beasley, 6 for 11, 55%. It was one of those three-point nights for him where everything was falling. I mean, the off-balance shots, the in-the-face, he's giving the too small, the too strong, this is my city. Obviously, he's feeling himself. 26 points, that's not what we needed at all. Especially when you got Cade Cunningham, who's dropping 21 points. Very hard to stop Cade Cunningham and Malik Beasley when you are not locked in. Last time we played Malik Beasley, he had 5 points. So you see what I mean? Boston just clearly wasn't there. And I personally think that Kristaps Porzingis should not have played. I think that it was way too early for him to come back. He was dealing with an illness against the Raptors, and you could tell he was not himself. 11 points, yeah, sure, that's great, but 2 boards, 1 assist. I mean, you could tell he wasn't making anything from the field either. KP didn't look like himself, and I think arguably it was one of his least effective games for Boston since Christmas. He went minus 24 in 26 minutes, so he clearly wasn't there. Not to mention he had 5 fouls, so he wasn't playing smart either, and not having Luke Cornett for the last 2 games due to personal reasons has really showcased that Boston's center depth is thin, and we noticed that. Al Horford did a really good job. I thought rebounding, he really stepped up. Nearly had a double-double, and those 3 three-pointers did come very, very timely. Unfortunately, couldn't make more, but obviously Boston was just really trying to cut that deficit down for most of the second half. So he shot 33% from 3 and 30% from the field. Horford did make a really good presence in trying to clean the glass and give them as many other opportunities as they possibly could. But another player that gave them everything was Derrick White. Derrick White was just having the time of his life from the three-point line, 5 for 10, 50%, 18 points, and he was letting them fly, too. He obviously couldn't make too much of a difference because we did lose by 20, and Joe Mazzulla waved the white flag with 4 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, but I've really enjoyed watching Derrick White find the joy in his basketball game. Again, I'm also really intrigued to see what Boston can do taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday, and I have a question. Just because we lost to the Pistons tonight, I do hope that Boston can bounce back, get this out of their mind, and end up taking this win against the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday. So I have a question for you guys. Despite the loss, can Boston still take over as number 1 in the Eastern Conference? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know in the comment section down below. And now one more player I do want to talk about here is, or 2 more players, Holiday and Payton Pritchard. I think Payton Pritchard, he's still got that dog in him. He was one of those guys that was still showing me that he was pissed off about this loss, and sometimes you need guys like that. Holiday was another one. Obviously not as effective as he wanted to be in the scoring asset. 0 for 5 really sucks, but Pritchard made up for it with 18 points, 5 for 8 from downtown, and he was playing really good defense. I mean, he was crashing the board. He was going bar for bar with Isaiah Stewart. So to have a guy be a light like this, 60% from the field and 62% from the three-point line, it does give me hope that if you do still struggle with injuries moving forward, you can still rely on a guy like Payton Pritchard. And hopefully this will come in handy playing the Cavaliers on Friday. But nonetheless, we will be live for that game. So go on ahead, hit that sub button for me if you guys haven't already. We will be live for Celtics versus Cavs starting at about 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure you're tuned in right here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports, and that way you guys can hit that sub button. Hit that sub button, make sure your notifications are turned on. That way you guys do get notified when we do go live. Thank you guys so much, and as always, go Celtics.